As I wandered through the ancient castle, the creaking floorboards echoed beneath my footsteps. The walls, adorned with centuries-old tapestries, seemed to whisper tales of knights and dragons. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, casting intricate patterns onto the stone floor. The air was thick with the scent of dust and old parchment. I ascended a winding staircase, my heart pounding with anticipation. At the top, a grand chamber awaited me. A massive fireplace, its hearth blackened with age, dominated the room. A king's throne stood before it, its velvet cushions worn and faded. As I gazed out the window, a panoramic view of the surrounding countryside unfolded before me.
So there I was, standing in the middle of the most conservative town in the state, wearing a bright pink tutu and a rainbow-striped unicorn horn. Yeah, you read that right. A tutu and a unicorn horn. It was the opposite of everything this town was known for. I mean, this place was where people wore beige and thought that a bold color was a pair of khaki shorts, but I was done with blending in.
The track blurred beneath my feet, a ribbon of red and white that stretched out endlessly. My lungs burned, a fiery furnace that refused to be extinguished. With each stride I felt the ground tremble beneath my feet, as if the earth itself were cheering me on. The crowd roared, a cacophony of sound that surged around me, pushing me forward. I could see the finish line, a mere speck in the distance, but it seemed to grow larger with every passing second. My legs ached, my muscles screamed for relief, but I refused to yield. I pushed harder, faster, driven by a determination that was as fierce as the midday sun. And then, with a final burst of energy, I crossed the finish line, collapsing to the ground in a heap of exhaustion.
The engine roared like a caged beast straining against the harness of its metal frame. The smell of burning rubber and gasoline filled my nostrils. My heart pounded in my chest, a drumbeat matching the rhythm of the tires on the asphalt. I gripped the wheel tighter, my knuckles white. The flag dropped and we were off. A blur of color and noise, we surged forward, the wind whipping past my face. The track stretched out before me, a ribbon of black asphalt winding through the desert. I pushed the car harder, the engine screaming in protest. The world narrowed to a tunnel of vision. The other cars were mere specks in my rearview mirror. I was alone, racing against the clock, against the very limits of the machine and my own body. I'd been in the trenches for years, climbing the corporate ladder one rung at a time, but when I was finally handed the reins, the ship was taking on water. Morale was low, productivity was plummeting, and the competition was nipping at our heels. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure where to start. That's when I remembered a piece of advice my old mentor had given me. Leadership isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about inspiring others to be their best. So I decided to take a different approach. Instead of barking orders, I started listening. I wanted to understand the challenges my team was facing, their hopes and their fears. The wind howled like a pack of hungry wolves, its icy breath biting through the thin fabric of my jacket. The car bucked and swayed beneath me, its headlights barely piercing the swirling snow. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles white. The road ahead was a blur of white, the lines barely visible. I slowed down, trying to keep the car steady. A sudden gust of wind caught the car, sending it skidding sideways. I jerked the wheel, but it was too late. We spun out and slid into a snowbank. The wind howled like a pack of hungry wolves, nipping at the heels of my car as I navigated the narrow, winding road. It whipped through the open windows, carrying with it a biting chill that made my skin crawl. The trees on either side of the road were bare, their skeletal branches reaching out as if pleading for shelter from the storm. The visibility was poor, the wind carrying a veil of dust and leaves that obscured my view. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles white, as I tried to stay focused on the road ahead.